What illegal thing do you do on a regular basis? When I was a kid, I thought it was normal that we could buy movies the day after they came out from the Chinese lady in the chicken shop. I didn't realize it was a crime until middle school when I told someone my grandma had Avatar on DVD and they said that was impossible since the movie was still in theaters. When I was in college, parking was $500 per semester, which I couldn't afford. I simply went to class each day until I got a parking ticket. I went online, paid the $50 fine but kept the ticket. Every time I would park on campus, I would toss the ticket out onto my windshield so that the parking police thought I was already ticketed. This worked for 2 years. $1,000 worth of parking for $100, and then I came out of class one day to find 2 tickets and note that said "nice try." When I was in college, someone figured out that you could add time to the old non-digital parking meters by shoving a popsicle stick in the coin slot repeatedly. My friend and I went around filling people's meters for months lol. Not all heroes wear capes. I have never told anyone about this before, but back when I was 15, I stole a Datsun 240Z car in my neighborhood. I was walking home from a friend's house one hot summer night, and as I walked by this cool Z car I noticed a single key sticking out of the driver's door lock. I had always thought that car was cool, and thought it would have been bitchin' to drive. Well, it was. So I kinda looked around, and saw no signs of life anywhere, so I got in and drove it off. It was a super nice car. I drove all around the valley. This car was too nice to be treated to a joyride, so after a few hours of driving it, I took it back and parked it right back in its parking spot at about 4 a.m. I figured it was very unlikely that the owner would even know it had drove, other than it missing about a third tank of gas. But I did keep the key, because they would think that just misplaced it somewhere. And I guess that's exactly what they did, because a couple of weeks later I did the same thing. Only this time it was almost out of gas, so I had to put some in it. Did the second time just like the first time. About a week later, I did it again. That time I drove it up to Big Bear Lake because I was dying to drive it on mountain roads. It was a blast, until I stopped at a little gas/market to get a snack, and bumped into one of my older brother's good friend, who knew I was only 15 and didn't have driver's license or a car, much less a vintage sports car. I can't remember the lies I told him, but knew I was going to be in deep shit when I got home. I hauled my ass back, stopped at 7-Eleven, and filled the car with gas, and snuck it back into their driveway, took a pen and scribbled out a thank you note, and told them that I really loved their car, and they really shouldn't leave the key in the door overnight. Oh, and by the way, I filled the tank for you. Thanks. Oh, and my brother's friend. He never said a word to anyone about seeing me. Downloading music through YouTube to MP3. When I was younger, me and my sister were driving down the road when we saw a roadkill raccoon. We decided to pull over to see if it was still alive. It wasn't, but it had a baby raccoon trying to cuddle up to it. We felt bad and took him in. He lived with us for about 14 years until he died. Apparently it's illegal to own a raccoon without a license, but raccoons only live for around 3 years in the wild, so I like to think we gave him a pretty good life for an orphan raccoon, regardless of it being illegal. We live in a small town, and regularly took him on walks to the park and stuff. He loved people, and sat on my shoulder while I was on a 4th of July parade float. R.I.P. Bandit. Update, for anyone curious, I posted videos of him on my profile. Pick up bones out of the woods. Apparently it's illegal, but I don't care. To be fair, the people putting the bones in the woods are probably the ones the law is more concerned about. I cut my own hair in my house. but I'm not registered as a hairdresser under the 1939 Hairdressers Act. You monster. I feel physically sick. Hiding snacks in my jacket at the movies. I buy organic veggies, and ring it up as non-organic in self-checkout. Self-checkout is where 50% of retail theft happens. For reasons like this, my store has a guy we know as Mr. Tomato TV. Because at least once a month, he prints out a sticker that has a barcode for a 79-cent can of tomato paste. He sticks it over the barcode for a $700 television, and tries to buy the TV for 79 cents at self-checkout. We always catch him, and he always acts shocked and offended. Oh wow! How could that happen? You guys need to pay better attention to your products. Glad you caught that. Oh, I don't think I'll buy it today. Bye now. You said you always catch him. Are you sure you're not just catching him the times you realize he's doing it? If he never gets away with it, why would he keep trying? Wow. Tough to say. I'm generally pretty law-abiding. Great question though. I guess if I had to pick one thing though, I'd say murder. Yeah, but they had it coming. Unfortunately, I am an addict and I've done a lot of drugs. And that takes you down a path with lots of criminal activity. I started a shoplifting ring in my city and was eventually caught. I was arrested and had to go to jail. I've prostituted myself for drugs and money. I am incredibly ashamed, and hate myself sometimes. But, I am 2 years clean now, and continue to make my recovery my first priority. I illegally jaywalk all the time. I just can't resist the thrill of crossing the street wherever I please. Here it goes. I sped. I followed too closely. I ran a stop sign. I almost hit a Chevy. I sped some more. I failed to yield at a crosswalk. I changed lanes at an intersection. I changed lanes without signaling while running a red light and speeding. Also piracy and anabolic steroids. I drove a car without a title, registration or insurance for about 6 years. Going anywhere was constant anxiety of being pulled over. Glad those days are over. I be stealing grapes at the store, one at a time. In '94 I had an '87 Toyota Celica in black. It was a really nice car when I bought it, but it had a missing hubcap. Not knowing where to get a replacement, I stole a hubcap from another Celica in my neighborhood. I was dumb and 17 years old. I drove that car for 2 years until I got into an accident. Since I no longer needed the hubcap, I put it back on the car I stole it from 2 years earlier. I always wondered what the owner thought about it. Bike on the sidewalk. There's literally no one using the sidewalks in my part of the city. I've always argued that a bike hitting a pedestrian is much less an issue than a car hitting a biker. I don't report my taxes for my business. Like ever. The IRS doesn't even know it exists. When students come in looking for a copy of a textbook in the library, because they can't afford it in the bookstore, I pirate a digital copy of it for them if I can. Most textbooks are written by lazy professors who get together to publish for tenure. The new editions are so they don't have to work hard to republish, and they're almost always the same damn book with accent colors changed. F that bullshit. Here's a PDF. Learn from it, improve your mind. Magic mushrooms every 6 weeks keep my suicidal thoughts away. Also help me rethink my life choices in a positive way. In my opinion it's a crime that those are illegal. Edit, for first-time users I'd recommend grabbing a person you deeply trust which has a good connection to his inner child. On with other words is emotional in line with himself. My favorite location are the local woods. Nature has so many wonders to offer. Heal your spirit. Much love to anyone reading. Yeah, my dad used to beat me when my friends would burn CDs for me, thinking that the FBI would raid our house for $3. Burn CDs of Blink 182 and Incubus and etc. We are still tracking you from when you downloaded the bootleg Nero software. Just waiting for interest to sufficiently accrue on the penalty for your downloads. You will be hearing from us at a future date. We will deduct this from your social security that won't exist when you apply in 33 years. Sincerely, your government. Nice try, FBI.